they make this claim that most of academe outside the immediate field studying intelligence and behavior genetics probably thought that the issue had been resolved for the better. Race was a social construct, IQ tests were invalid, twin studies were methodologically flawed, the bell curve was thoroughly debunked. So they're basically like, yeah, people outside of this field, they believed all of these things. And they seem to suggest that this was a good status quo, which struck me as odd because literally every claim they make there is wrong. It's pervasive misinformation.
Indeed. And Turkheim himself is an expert on twin studies. He may recognize they have certain limitations. He may be more critical of them than he once was, but I would be surprised if he thinks that they are methodologically flawed, given that he spent much of his career doing them.
Right. So we should make a distinction there between flawed and limited.
Yeah.
Every method in science will have limitations, especially when you're wrestling with something as complicated as, genetic contribution to trait variation. So of course they're limited. They're not flawed in any way that, vitiates the results.
Yeah, it's not like a test for some chemical that doesn't actually test for that.
Right. And the bell curve was thoroughly debunked. No, it wasn't. Even the APA's statement on it basically confirmed most of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, I found that it's almost as if they were nostalgic for this time when everybody believed completely false things about the state of quote unquote race science.
Yeah, it's not 100% clear what they mean in that paragraph, but
right, it's not.
As you've noted, it's highly plausible that they're casting a positive light on that situation.
Yeah, and they even say, they end this with this weird sentence: the liberal social science establishment could breathe easy. So I guess the idea is like all good liberals were happy with this state of affairs. I don't know. It was bizarre.
I guess that's an acknowledgement that there's that liberals are inherently wary of from intelligence and behavioral genetics research.
Yeah. So anyway, that caught my eye. I thought that was bizarre. And I mean, they never really say, what, that kind of nescience was unfortunate. Right. They just seem to lament that it's been, that innocence has been violated by, quote, race science is back.
No, exactly. The next thing I wanted to point to was where they criticized the likes of Kierkegaard and others for self-publishing much of their work in openly racist journals or journals that they themselves edit or on their personal blogs. What's wrong with publishing research on your personal blog? Okay, it hasn't gone through the standard academic peer review process, but it can be reviewed by others after it's been published on your blog.
Yes.
And this is basically just, an argument by appeal to convention.
I mean, furthermore, what's a preprint? Economists use preprints all the time and cite the preprints.
Precisely. And obviously the reason why these individuals have published much of their work outside of mainstream journals is that mainstream journals are often heavily biased against this kind of research in the sense that they held it to higher standards than they would hold comparable research on a non-controversial topic.
Yes.
In other words, yes, no one is suggesting that the methods that they've employed in their research are completely infallible and unimpeachable, but no social science research is, or at least, and most of it doesn't even come close.
Yeah, I would say if you compare these articles to, say, the average article in Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, one will find that the latter is wanting, not the former.
Yeah, so
yes,
it's a case of.
And by the way,
you couldn't allow this research to get published, and also, why are you publishing this research?
Right? How dare
places that we don't want you to publish in?
Right, and to be clear, many editors have explicitly stated that they will apply double standards to this research.
Yeah.
So this isn't just the the whining and repining of people who have had articles rejected. This is actual official stated policy.
Yeah, we Michael Woodley and I gave a number of examples in our article that we published in Intelligence 1 or 2 years ago that I think you and I previously did a podcast about. So then, moving on, was there anything in the next page or two that you wanted to flag?
Well, they do say, I thought this was interesting. They're talking about, like one solution to this problem of science is we could just have completely open debate. And they literally write this sentence just to give a sense of flavor of the borderline authoritarianism here. They say, we reject that position as more of an abdication than a solution. Now, why is it an abdication to promote like almost absolute, unfettered, free speech and free inquiry in the limited domain of science? I mean, we're not talking about what should the New York Times do here. We're talking about scientists.
Yeah, in other words, it's a much weaker claim than saying I'm in favor of total free speech.
Yeah, exactly. Because as listeners may know, I'm not like a free speech absolutist, but I do think in the more circumscribed domain of scientific inquiry, I am. I would just argue that that is in fact a solution, not an abdication.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that.